Ever since the world of gaming and pop culture began, we've loved a good old-fashioned battle to the death. The premise is simple and brilliant. A bunch of people facing off in a closed-off area until only one is left alive. It's what drives stories like The Hunger Games and Mortal Kombat. Now, what if we took that idea to an absurd level? What if, instead of ordinary fighters, you could summon the greatest heroes in history to fight for you? Imagine King Arthur trading sword strikes with Hercules, while a Babylonian king gets a front-row seat to the whole thing with an infinite arsenal. That's exactly the madness of Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. 7 mages, 7 legendary servants, and a secret war for the Holy Grail. But what makes this story brilliant isn't just the top-tier brawls. What does it really mean to be a hero in a world that isn't black and white? It's an anime that delivers epic battles but makes you question the protagonist's every choice. It all starts with our protagonist, Shirou. He wakes up, has breakfast with Sakura and Fujimura, and gets a little worried about the news of mysterious gas leaks in the city. Little does he know that the leak has a first and last name. At school, he shows he's got some magic tricks up his sleeve by discreetly fixing a heater, while Shinji continues to be annoying as ever. At night, the mood gets tense. A mysterious white-haired girl, Ilyasville, appears out of nowhere and lays it on him. Either he summons a servant, or he's a goner.
If you don't summon yours soon, you're gonna die, big brother.
Shirou even tries to practice his magic at home, but his trace-on is a total bust. The next day, he notices a wound on Sakura's hand, but there's no time to investigate. After school, he stays late to clean the dojo, and ends up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Again, he witnesses the fight between Lancer and Archer, and once again, Lancer chases him down and stabs him. It's his second game over in 24 hours. But then Rin appears like a guardian angel and revives him with her pendant. Back home, thinking the danger has passed, he's attacked again by Lancer, who's more relentless than a debt collector. Shirou runs to a shed where a summoning circle glows on the floor, and suddenly, Saber appears before him, ready for a fight.
Are you worthy to be my master?
She squares up to Lancer, who decides to retreat. When Saber turns to attack Archer, Shirou, in a panic, uses a command seal to stop her. That's when Rin shows up, totally chill, next to Archer with a "we need to talk" look on her face. In Shirou's dining room, there's an awkward "I just got stabbed twice and now there are 3 mystical warriors in my house" vibe. Rin, who seems to be the only one who knows what's going on, decides to give him a private lesson. She explains everything about the Holy Grail War, a sort of battle royale among mages, and about the command seals that give them control over their servants. To make things more official, she takes him to a church to meet Kirei Kotomine, the war's supervisor. Like the referee of the tournament, Kirei explains that the Grail can grant any wish, but that the last tournament, 10 years ago, went horribly wrong. An unscrupulous winner caused the disaster that scarred the city. Hearing this, Shirou's hero mode activates. He decides he will fight, not for a wish, but to ensure a tragedy like that never happens again. Outside, Saber understands the vibe and swears an oath of loyalty, promising to be his sword. The nice moment doesn't last long. Rin turns to him and drops a "it was fun while it lasted, but now we're enemies." Archer, ever the pragmatist, suggests settling things right there and eliminating Shirou, but Rin refuses. This time, the action takes place in a cemetery, where Rin, Shirou, and Saber come face to face with Ilyasville and her towering bodyguard, Berserker, and Rin gets it right away. This beast is stronger than Saber. Archer, being the smart one, zips away to play sniper, and the brawl begins. Berserker charges forward with the force of a runaway truck. Archer tries to help, but his magic arrows barely scratch the monster. Saber joins the fray with her invisible sword, but things are looking grim. Rin tries to trap Berserker in a crystal dome, but he couldn't care less. Meanwhile, a separate magic duel breaks out between Rin and Ilyasville, who sends some sinister birds after her. Seeing how serious things are, Saber decides to go all out and uses her special move, her Noble Phantasm, which basically splits Berserker in half. Except the madman just regenerates, thanks to an ability called God Hand. It's like Wolverine on steroids. Unfazed, Archer fires a sword arrow that turns into a gigantic explosion. But guess what? Berserker is still standing.
Survived a rank A Noble Phantasm without a scratch.
The girl is so impressed by the show that she decides to spare everyone and leaves. But when the dust settles, Shirou simply collapses and starts coughing up blood out of nowhere.
Are you unwell?
Next, Ilyasville is relaxing in the bath, chatting with her maids about why she let Shirou and the others live. Meanwhile, Shirou wakes up from a bizarre dream of a field filled with swords. Rin explains that he has a kind of magical self-healing, which is why he's still breathing. To get the boy up to speed, Saber gives a little lesson on the 7 servant classes in the Holy Grail War. Rin, who's no fool, goes to investigate some buildings with suspicious gas leaks. And of course, it wasn't gas, it was Castor's doing, draining the life force of the people there. Back to the daily grind, Shirou brings lunch to the archery club, with Saber as his bodyguard. At home, his teacher, Fujimura, and Sakura are floored when they see Shirou has a new house guest. At night, Rin's investigation gets more serious. She runs into some skeletons and confirms her theory. Atop a building, she and Archer conclude that Castor's hideout is the Ryudu Temple. But then Archer gets real with Rin, questioning if she'll have the guts to kill Shirou when the time comes, leaving a heavy tension in the air. We jump to a flashback from 5 years ago, with Kiritsugu telling a young Shirou that his dream was to be a hero of justice. Cute. Back in the present, the school day starts off tense. Ayako has disappeared after fighting with Shinji, the class jerk. Rin, not so subtly, corners Shirou and demands his command seals. But before the fight can really start, they hear a scream.
She's not just unconscious. Can't you see she's been drained dry?
Shirou, in full hero mode, protects Rin and chases after Ryder, but ends up needing to be saved by Rin herself at the last second. Typical. After patching him up, Rin proposes a truce to hunt Ryder together. She's shocked to discover that the magic training Kiritsugu gave Shirou was basically a joke. Archer decides playing the spy is more fun than fighting and follows Shirou, only to bluntly reveal he's not the least bit interested in the Holy Grail. Like, what's your plan, dude? Meanwhile, Shirou finds out Ayako is alive, so that's one less problem on his list. At school, it's a bomb disposal mission, except instead of bombs, they're magic seals in the library. Shirou and Rin become a sort of mystical bomb squad, but the peace is short-lived because Shinji shows up to spoil the party. He reveals he's Ryder's master and spills the whole story of his family, the Matos, who are basically a line of washed-up mages. He wants an alliance, but Shirou refuses, promising to keep his secret safe. Night falls, and things get serious. Shirou wakes up tied up in the Ryudu Temple, the victim of a flash kidnapping. The kidnapper? None other than Castor, who admits to being responsible for the gas leaks that have been taking people out. Saber rushes to save her master, and comes face to face with a new boss, Assassin.
I am Kojiro Sasaki, Assassin class servant.
The two begin an epic sword duel at the temple gates, while Castor prepares to steal Shirou's command seals. But, to everyone's surprise, Archer emerges from the shadows to take on Castor, who reveals she illegally summoned Assassin, breaking all the rules of the game. Saber is struggling in her fight against Assassin, who proves to be a true master of defense, blocking everything she throws at him. Meanwhile, Archer isn't messing around and lays a beatdown on Castor, leaving her gravely wounded. Before she almost bites the dust, Castor confirms she used a cheat to summon Assassin. To make matters worse, Assassin unleashes his ultimate technique, the swallow reversal.
Ultimate. Swallow reversal.
Too late.
A strike that seems impossible to dodge, straight at Saber. And then comes the plot twist. Archer simply refuses to deliver the final blow to Castor. He says it's more pragmatic to avoid a massacre, which makes Shirou absolutely furious. A philosophical debate begins in the middle of the brawl. Shirou wants to save everyone, while Archer believes sacrifices are necessary. Since Shirou won't accept this cold logic, Archer settles the argument in the most civilized way possible, by stabbing him in the back. Literally. By some miracle, Saber survives Assassin's strike. A patched-up Shirou tries to flee the temple, while Archer, who suddenly turned into the villain, tries to finish the job. But then another twist happens. Assassin, the enemy, blocks Archer and allows Shirou to escape. Back home, battered and confused, Shirou makes a decision. He asks Saber to teach him how to fight with swords. It seems getting his butt kicked finally gave the kid a reality check. Saber takes on the role of sensei and starts training Shirou in the backyard. During the lesson, she notices something bizarre. Without even realizing it, Shirou is using the same fighting techniques as Archer. It's literally like learning kung fu by watching a Jackie Chan movie. Later at school, Shinji greets Shirou with a smirk that screams, "I'm up to something." At lunch, Rin practically drags Shirou aside and spills the tea. She used a command seal, an absolute order, to stop Archer from finishing what he started and turning him into a pincushion. She also explains that the Mato family's magic is super weak, almost a bootleg version of real magic. Suddenly, Suddenly, Ryder activates a sinister barrier that covers the entire school, sucking the life force out of everyone like a soul vacuum. Only Shirou and Rin are unaffected. The school turns into a horror movie set, with skeleton golems sprouting from the ground to attack them. Shirou doesn't think twice and uses a command seal to summon Saber. While she mops the floor with the skeletons, the mage duo rushes to deactivate the barrier. Saber corners Ryder and seemingly defeats her, but it was just an illusion by Caster. The real Ryder is already dead. With Ryder dead, the barrier dissolves, and everyone is saved. The conclusion is obvious. It was Caster. In the midst of all this, Shirou casually mentions that he's used to seeing dead bodies, leaving Rin completely freaked out. Seeing that his game is up, Shinji bolts from the school. At home, to prevent Caster from playing kidnapper again, Shirou makes the most obvious decision in the world. He lets Saber sleep nearby to keep an eye on him, maximum level overprotection. Meanwhile, the crybaby Shinji runs to the church to beg Kirei for help, and the priest, with that untrustworthy look on his face, reveals he has an extra servant in stock, ready to be used, like a video game bonus item. Later, Shirou bumps into Rin playing spy, keeping an eye on Gilgamesh, who in turn is watching the Mato house. It's a Russian doll of stalkers. The two end up talking about life and family drama. At dinner, Fujimura decides to open up the memory chest and tell some stories about Shirou and Kiritsugu. Saber, always curious, asks Shirou why he insists so much on being a hero of justice. The guy gives a vague answer, but deep down we know he just wants to be a carbon copy of his adoptive father. And to wrap things up, that nagging doubt from Archer's criticisms lingers. He keeps saying Shirou's ideals are a lost cause. Being a hero is turning out to be more complicated than he imagined. Rin wakes up from a nightmare that felt more like a spoiler, dreaming of Archer's origin as a servant. At school, they connect the dots and finally figure out that Professor Kuzuki lives at the Ryudu Temple with a mysterious woman. Rin, who's no fool, solves the puzzle. It has to be Caster. Without wasting any time, she confronts the guy at an abandoned gas station and goes on the offensive. But there's a catch. Her attack doesn't even tickle him. Just then, Caster pops up out of nowhere to confirm the obvious. Yes, the professor is her master.
We caught our prey. They've come right to us.
To make matters worse, Kuzuki reveals he's a former professional assassin with no attachment to life. With a magic upgrade from Caster, he turns into a fighting machine and gives Saber and Rin a historic beatdown. When all seems lost, Shirou manages to pull off a perfect Archer cosplay and summons his twin swords for the first time. The shock is so great that the villainous couple vanishes in a puff of smoke. Speaking of villains, Gilgamesh finds Shinji and lays out his evil plan without any ceremony, to use the Grail to reset all of humanity. Meanwhile, back to safety, Shirou tells Rin about his first successful projection. The kid is leveling up. At school, no surprise. The beatdown Professor Kuzuki is a no-show, and who suddenly appears at Shirou's house? Rin. She walks in and starts taking charge, and the two begin to strategize on how to face Caster. During dinner, Rin realizes that Shirou's house, though simple, is much more welcoming than her huge, empty mansion. Later in the backyard, she loses her patience with Shirou's habit of trying to save everyone while forgetting about himself. Basically, she's screaming, "Stop being a fool!" Shirou goes to train in his workshop, and Saber notices that the left side of his body is completely numb, a sign that this game is getting dangerous. Out of nowhere, Archer appears from the shadows to play doctor and therapist. He fixes Shirou's magic circuits, and while he's at it, lays down the truth. His dream of being a hero is meaningless and doomed to fail. After that bombshell, Rin decides to stay over, showing that deep down, she's really worried about the stubborn hero wannabe. Rin decides it's time for an outing and takes Shirou and Saber for a walk in the city. It all feels like one of those filler beach episodes with cute moments and all, but we know happiness is fleeting. Suddenly, Caster casts a spell and traps everyone in a magic barrier. The witch reveals she knows all about the fire that traumatized Shirou and makes a proposal. Let's end this without any more bloodshed. But there's a catch. Shirou has to hand over his magic circuits.
Not a chance. I will never submit to you.
He refuses, and then Caster plays dirty. She threatens Fujimura's life. Backed into a corner, Shirou is forced to make an impossible choice. Save Fujimura or keep Saber. He chooses Fujimura, sacrificing his servant.
Just take it.
Caster uses her trump card, Rule Breaker, and simply steals Saber for herself. Shirou loses his command seals and is left like a coach with no team. To make matters worse, the controlled Saber immediately turns on them, but Archer appears out of nowhere to save the day, like an ex showing up at just the right time. Back at base, Rin gives Shirou the hard truth. Without a servant, he's out of the war. In the midst of his despair, he finds that mysterious pendant. Meanwhile, Caster wastes no time and goes to the church to demand the location of the Lesser Grail from Kirei. Shirou is in a slump, completely broken, reflecting on the promise he made to his surrogate father, Kiritsugu. He clutches Rin's pendant, wondering if it's still worth trying to be a hero. Meanwhile, Saber is trapped in the church, trying to fight Caster's mind control, who, by the way, has already sent Kirei to his grave. Rin also has a eureka moment and finally understands Archer's bad vibes. He's a guardian who was betrayed by his own ideals after he died. Heavy stuff. Rin heads to the church to confront Caster, and the plan was simple. Archer would take care of Kazuki, except, plot twist, Archer switches sides and joins Caster, shamelessly claiming she's stronger. As Kazuki moves in on a defeated Rin, Shirou pops up out of nowhere to save her. He summons his twin swords, Kanshu and Bakuya, in a last-ditch effort before collapsing from exhaustion. Archer, perhaps driven by a shred of conscience, lets Rin and Shirou go. Later, sitting under the stars, the mood shifts completely. Shirou shows her his pendant, which is identical to Rin's, and opens his heart. He's fallen in love with her. Rin, deeply moved, thanks him for the rescue and embraces him.
Thanks for coming to my rescue.
Even without Saber on the team, Shirou isn't throwing in the towel. Rin agrees and they come up with a new plan. If you can't beat them, join the strongest. The idea is to form an alliance with Ilyasville because her servant, Berserker, is none other than Hercules. But first, the episode takes a break from the action to tell Caster's backstory. She's actually Medea, the princess of Colchis, a true tell-all for the villain. The flashback shows that her first master was a jerk named Atram who treated her like trash, but Medea's magic is on the Age of Gods level. When the guy tries to get rid of her, she simply uses Rule Breaker to free herself and turns him into barbecue, nearly dying from a lack of mana. She's found by Kazuki, who becomes her new master and saves her life.
What has happened to you?
Back in the present, while Shirou and Rin are on their way to Ilya's mansion, Shinji and Gilgamesh decide to pay a not-so-friendly visit, and then Gilgamesh drops the bombshell. The lesser grail everyone is looking for is Ilya's own heart. Without a shred of mercy, he uses his Gate of Babylon to annihilate her two maids, Laisrit and Sela.
Laisrit, no!
Completely devastated and furious, Ilya orders Berserker to attack Gilgamesh.
This instant, right now! Kill him, Berserker!
In an incredibly heavy flashback centered on Ilya, we see a vision of her mother, Irisviel, completely corrupted, claiming that Kiritsugu betrayed everyone. During this ordeal, Ilya discovers she is actually a homunculus, an artificial human created for a specific purpose. It's at this moment she meets Berserker, a giant who becomes her bodyguard of his own free will. Back in the present, things get real. The arrogant blonde, Gilgamesh, reveals that Berserker is like a video game boss. He has 12 lives, thanks to a skill called God Hand. And what does Gilgamesh do? Exactly what you do in a game. He wipes out Berserker's lives one by one without mercy. Using his infinite arsenal of noble phantasms. For the final blow, he uses a set of ominous chains called Enkidu to restrain Berserker, and in an act of pure cruelty, he blinds Ilya before stabbing her.
Berserker, where are you?
Berserker, fueled by sheer hatred, breaks free for one last attack, but it's no use. It's the end of the line for him. Ilya dies, but in her mind, Berserker is still there to protect her. To top it all off with the most painful revelation possible, we find out that Kiritsugu was Ilya's father. This means she and Shirou are foster siblings.
Where is my daddy?
What a tragic plot twist. Right after the tragedy, Gilgamesh wastes no time and rips out Ilya's beating heart, which is actually the lesser grail. How bizarre. Shirou's reaction is so extreme that even Rin becomes concerned about his mental state. After they give Ilya a somber burial, Rin tries to give Shirou a reality check about his ideals of being a hero, which are basically a one-way ticket to disaster, but he's steadfast in his purpose of saving everyone, even if it costs him his own life. And speaking of help, Lancer suddenly appears, offering an alliance. And of course, he takes the opportunity to hit on Rin, because why not? We also get an extra scene, not present in the source material, between Archer and Kazuki. In it, we understand that the teacher is like an empty shell who only found a purpose in life by growing attached to Caster. To leave us with something to think about, Rin plants a nagging question in our minds about a mysterious pendant.
Just one. This is the pendant that Archer brought back to me. I always assumed that he had just gone back there and retrieved it as a courtesy to me.
Take note, because this will be important. With the new trio formed, they set off to invade the church with Lancer's help. Caster and Kazuki have a conversation, and a flashback shows us that the teacher was a professional, emotionless assassin, basically a fighting machine. Meanwhile, the invasion of the church begins. Rin and Shirou head inside, while outside, all hell is breaking loose between Lancer and Archer. Lancer prepares his special move, Gay Bolg, which is essentially a delete button in spear form with a 100% chance to hit. But Archer is no fool and summons Ro Ayaz, a 7-layered purple shield that resembles a flower of energy. The explosion is brutal. The shield is obliterated and Archer is left with a useless arm. Inside, Rin is going head-to-head with Caster, using her magical jewels and even some kung fu moves. But Kazuki shows up and takes her down. And then comes the plot twist. Archer betrays Caster. He summons a volley of swords at Kazuki. In a desperate act, Caster throws herself in front of him, taking 3 swords to the chest. As she dies, her elven ears appear, and she says that Kazuki's concern was all she ever wanted. Kazuki, though shaken, tries to fight, but Archer finishes him off quickly. Shirou wakes up to find Saber tied up and powerless. To end with a hell of a cliffhanger, Archer traps Rin in a cage of swords, breaks his contract with her, and drops the bombshell.
I'll kill Shirou Emiya with my bare hands. This became my only wish.
The drama kicks off with Archer and Saber in a heated argument. Archer is getting philosophical, saying he has no pride, only regrets. Meanwhile, Saber, with her mana in the red and running on fumes, refuses to abandon Shirou. Maximum loyalty. The fight begins, and Saber is clearly at a disadvantage. That's when Shirou decides to play the hero and jumps into the fray with his twin swords Kanshu and Bakuya, but his mind glitches out, and he starts having bizarre visions of swords. Seeing how bad things are, Rin comes up with a brilliant idea. She offers to become Saber's new master. It's like switching teams mid-game. Saber accepts, and the command seals simply sprout on Rin's hand. What a twist. But Archer isn't left behind. He reveals he can manage on his own for 2 or 3 days without a master. And to cap it all off, he activates his ultimate move, a reality marble called Unlimited Blade Works. Suddenly, they are transported to a desert filled with swords as far as the eye can see. He reveals he was once a magus and threatens to copy Saber's holy sword. Shirou, in a last-ditch effort, uses his Trace On to block the attacks. But the poor guy faints from exhaustion. To make matters worse, Archer kidnaps the unconscious Rin as a mana insurance policy and sets the stage for the final confrontation the next day. Shirou, Saber, and Lancer arrive at Ilya's castle, and this is where the bomb drops. Archer finally reveals who he is, a version of Shirou from an alternate future. That's right, he is Shirou, only older, stronger, and completely embittered. He tells his sad story of how he became a cosmic hero of justice, forced to kill people to save humanity, and now he hates every second of it. His plan? To kill his past self to hopefully create a paradox and erase his own existence. It's like a dark version of Back to the Future, and in the middle of all this, Saber reveals that she is King Arthur. Yes, King Arthur is a woman. Meanwhile, in another showdown, Lancer finds Rin with Shinji, but the surprise guest is Ki-Rei, Lancer's true master. He throws it in Rin's face that he killed her father in the previous war, and orders Lancer to rip out her heart. Lancer, being the hero he is, refuses. Ki-Rei then uses his command seals and forces Lancer to kill himself, but even on the verge of death, Lancer manages one last strike, killing Ki-Rei and saving Rin. What a masterful exit. Back at the main fight, Shirou refuses to give up his ideals and decides he won't become this bitter man. The final battle between past and future begins. The fight between Shirou and Archer continues inside that world of swords. But there's a catch. With every blow, Shirou gets stronger as he's absorbing Archer's memories and experience. It's like downloading a real-time update package mid-fight. Archer tries to break Shirou's spirit with logic, explaining how horrible the life of a guardian is, and for a moment, it works. Shirou begins to waver, thinking his future self might be right. That's when Archer lands what seems to be the final blow. But just when all seems lost, the ultimate plot armor kicks in. Avalon, the scabbard of Excalibur that Shirou's father implanted in him, activates and heals him completely. It's a Wolverine-level healing factor.
I am the bone of my sword.
Shirou gets back up with newfound determination and delivers the series' most epic line. He says Archer may be correct in his logic, but he is not right morally. Shirou decides to embrace his ideals simply because he finds them beautiful, no matter the tragic end that awaits him. The clash between Shirou and Archer rages on, but the tables have turned. With Avalon's power, Shirou basically has an infinite health cheat activated, healing from any blow. His projection skills are so sharp that he's going toe-to-toe with Archer, the original master of the craft. Witnessing all this, Saber has an existential crisis, questioning her own ideals. Back at the main fight, Shirou shouts that he will keep following his ideals simply because he thinks they are beautiful. This resolve shakes Archer, who begins to remember his own dreams. But just when you think they might hug it out, Gilgamesh appears to crash the party, unleashing his Gate of Babylon. In a heroic act, Archer shoves Shirou aside and becomes a human shield, taking the rain of swords to the head and apparently dying. Then Gilgamesh explains he survived the last war by bathing in the mud of the corrupted Grail, and reveals his Thanos-level plan to use the Grail to wipe out humanity. To top it all off, he rips out Ilya's heart and shoves it into Shinji, transforming the poor guy into a grotesque mass of flesh that will serve as the vessel for the Grail. After all that chaos, Shirou, Rin, and Saber return home to devise a plan. It's the calm before the final storm. Rin, the brains of the team, figures out that the corrupted Grail is being summoned at the Ryu Temple. To stand a chance, Shirou needs to fully master unlimited blade works. The problem is, the kid doesn't have enough mana for a technique of that level. The solution? Rin decides to transfer her magic crest to him in a sort of power transfusion. During the ritual, Shirou ends up accessing Rin's memories and discovers the exact moment she fell in love with him. He basically peeked at her diary by accident. While the couple sorts things out, Saber walks around the house, reflecting on how this whole experience has humanized her. She thanks Shirou for showing her a different path than the one she knew, and makes him promise he will survive the final battle. At the temple, Gilgamesh is finalizing preparations for the apocalypse, and Shinji continues his hideous transformation. As for our hero, Shirou seems much more mature and resolute about his ideals. The plan of attack is set. Saber will be the tank, holding off Assassin and Gilgamesh, while Shirou and Rin go straight for the Grail to destroy it. Under the cover of night, the trio departs for the decisive confrontation. The team arrives at Ryudu Temple, and the scene is straight out of a horror movie. Shinji is no longer human. He's become a bizarre vessel for the Grail, a shapeless mass of flesh vomiting a lake of black mud filled with curses. And Shirou, with his heart of gold, still insists he has to save the guy. Gilgamesh appears to give his villain speech, saying that humanity has multiplied too much, and that he's doing the world a favor by hitting the reset button. He reveals that the Grail is, in fact, a pit containing all the evil humanity has ever produced. Shirou tries to face the Golden King, projecting a few weapons, but it's like bringing a plastic knife to a nuclear war. His copies don't even come close to the original weapons from the Gate of Babylon. To completely humiliate him, Gilgamesh draws Iya, his ultimate sword capable of destroying existence itself.
What the hell is that?
The weapon is so divine that Shirou can't even comprehend what he's seeing. While the massacre unfolds inside at the temple gates, Saber confronts Assassin. Then comes another revelation. Assassin isn't a famous historical figure, but a nameless swordsman who seeks only one thing in life: to create the perfect duel, a true masterpiece of the blade. On the other side, Rin must cross the sea of curses to try and pull Shinji from the goo, as Assassin prepares his killing blow, the Swallow Reversal.
Ultimate Swallow Reversal.
Shirou, even after everything, continues with his idealistic hero talk, and right in the nick of time, Saber appears out of nowhere to block an attack from Gilgamesh. The order is clear. Shirou tells her to save Rin, because now he's the one who will handle this. That's when he plays his ace. His unlimited blade works. The scenery shifts to a bizarre desert, filled with infinite copies of swords. Basically, it's the perfect counter to Gilgamesh's Gate of Babylon. If the guy has an infinite arsenal, Shirou simply copies it and throws it right back at him. The fight is insane, and Shirou uses his head, adapting his tactics and overwhelming Gilgamesh with sheer volume. Meanwhile, Saber faces the Holy Grail, which reveals itself to be a monster called Angra Mainyu. Rin doesn't think twice and uses a command seal, forcing Saber to unleash her special move, Excalibur, right into the heart of the Grail. Back in Shirou's private desert, he manages to sever Gilgamesh's arm just as the villain was about to use his ultimate weapon, Iya. A portal from the Grail opens beneath Gilgamesh, and to complete the humiliation, Archer reappears out of thin air like a ghost and lands a dagger in his head. Gilgamesh is swallowed by the darkness, and it's over. With the Grail destroyed by Excalibur, Saber begins to fade away. She says she would like to stay, but her duty is done.
I feel good knowing that Shirou has you.
Archer also bids farewell to Rin, asking her to take care of Shirou. In the end, Shirou and Rin are left together, and the Holy Grail War is finally over. We jump forward 2 years. Shirou and Rin are now living together in London, studying at the Clock Tower, like a Hogwarts for more serious mages. Rin is there as the heiress of a powerhouse family, and Shirou is her apprentice. The episode introduces us to Luvia Gaelita, a wealthy blonde who is Rin's #1 rival, and Lord El Naloy II, who is actually Waver from Fate Zero, now all grown up and important. Rin takes Shirou to King Arthur's grave so he can properly say goodbye to Saber. It's there they realize that the Holy Grail War, which was the biggest event of their lives, is considered nothing more than a minor Eastern ritual by the global magical community, a major reality check. Shirou is offered the chance to officially join the Mages Association, but he refuses. The guy is still clinging to his dream of being a hero of justice and prefers to follow his own path. We see some flashbacks of their last year in school, showing that his romance with Rin is stronger than ever. We see Archer, or rather his spirit, reflecting in peace.
But in spite of it all, one thing is certain. I was never wrong.
The final scene is poetic. A figure resembling Shirou walks through a desert just like Archer's, but unlike him, he wears a smile of hope on his face.